Hey, this is Andrew Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, and in this video we are going to continue on with turning things into CloudFormation. So we did our cluster, now we need to do our service. The question is, should this be done with the bash commands that we've been using, because it does create a CloudFormation template already, or should we create a new CloudFormation template manually? And so my thought is that when we get to the deployment mechanism of the cluster, I think what it always does is it updates the CloudFormation template anyway. And so possibly it would make more sense to just create a CloudFormation template because it's already going to have one as the result, because that means the template that we'd launch would be it. But there are other resources that go along with it, like the task definition and other stuff like that. And so the question is, should that be a separate CloudFormation template from the service? I'm not 100% sure about that. And the reason why I'm uncertain is that there can be cases where you run into issues where you don't want certain things to be tied to CloudFormation templates or not tightly coupled. And so something like the ECR repository and the task definitions might be something that you might not want those there as, just because they go through rapid iterations and stuff like that. But let's go take a look at what's in our task definition file, and then maybe we can decide after that. So we'll go over to, and in the past, what I've normally done is I would place these in CloudFormation templates, but now I'm just kind of second guessing myself, and maybe we can explore another way of working with these files. But we'll go over here and we'll take a look here. So really all a task definition file is a JSON file that is being served to it. So there isn't really a whole lot going on there. Maybe we would have to create the logging group for where that service is supposed to be, or for the cluster, which we didn't do that in our last step there a moment ago. But yeah, I'll be back here in a second. I just want to keep thinking about it. Should I place the ECR container in the task definition in a file, or would that be a bad idea? Back in a second, okay? You know what we can do is we'll just write it all in CloudFormation as a single file, and then we'll just run it multiple times, and then we'll determine where we need to break it up, because I'm not 100% sure, but in the past I have placed it all into a CloudFormation template, and I didn't run into too many issues. So we'll just figure out as we go. So what we'll do is we'll make a new folder here. I'm going to call it service. And I mean, technically we have one for our front end and our back end. Right now I'm just going to make one for now, because again, I don't know if I want to change the front end architecture to be set up on, on CloudFormation, or sorry, CloudFront. But what we'll do here is we'll go to our service here. We'll make a new file here. We'll have one for config.toml.example. And then we will have config.toml. And then I'll have a new one here called template.yaml. And so as we always start out, we'll go up to the top here. We'll grab this. We'll have a description here. We'll paste that in here. We'll need to have resources or parameters, definitely. So we'll have that. We'll have our resources. Okay, and we will start defining from there. So a few things that I know we're going to need is a task definition file. We're going to need an ECR repo. So we can define our repos. Well, it depends. So like, if we do that here, then we would have to have the base repo defined there. So I'm not sure if I want to define the repos in here, or if I do want to define the repos, maybe they should be separate, but at least we know that we'll have the task definition file. So yeah, this is the thing, is like, if you have a task definition file, what would, yeah. I was just thinking about this. So like, when you have ECS deployment, it's going to update the CloudFormation template, or does it actually create a new one and delete the old one? So that's what I don't know. So let's go over to, well, we won't know until we actually deploy something to the cluster. Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess we'll just do both. We'll just say service. And what we'll do is we'll leave out ECR from here, and we'll work from that. Now, I've definitely done this before, so what I'm going to do is go over here and just look up an existing one that I have so we can kind of get this started. So go to Fargate service here. We'll take a look at what I've done. And so here, repo stack. Yeah, so actually I do have the repo as a separate stack. So that's what I was thinking. And probably I had the same logic that I was thinking there as well, is that we probably should have it separate. So we have cluster stack, name stack, container port, stuff like that. There's a bunch of other stuff in here. This one is for ECS EC2 because it's saying vnode. And so that is something that we aren't doing. In this case, we are using Fargate. We need to have a security group. That is right. We don't need service discovery because we're using ECS Connect. But over here, this is Fargate service. So I guess that's what we're looking for, is one of these. But probably first is what we need is that task definition. So what we'll do is go ahead here and we'll do task definition. And then we'll have Fargate service here. And then we'll have service security group. What else? And yeah, we might want a CloudWatch log group for the actual service. Gateway route, no. Virtual service, no. Execution role, task role, we'll definitely need those. Okay. But yeah, I think that was my major concern, was the repo and maybe the task definition. I can't remember if that would cause us issues, but we'll have to do some updates and find out. If you're hearing sounds, it's because my dog is right beside me here. Okay, so maybe that's what we'll do. We'll use those three there. So for security group, we've done one of these before, so we can go ahead and grab that from here. So we have our ALB SG, so we'll go ahead and just grab this whole thing. And then the difference here is that, well, it's going to still need to have a VPC ID, so we're going to want to have our networking stack imported. So we'll go to the top here, and we'll bring in the network stack again. Okay. So it'll be under our parameters. We probably need our cluster stack, so I'm just going to bring it in here already. Cluster or CRD cluster. This is our okay. We'll definitely need it for the load balancer because that's something we'll need. Yeah, we don't need this ARN here. So we need to accept traffic only from the load balancer. So here, that's what we'd be referencing. So we'll go click through here and take a look at what that has to be. So go over here and we'll go to ingress. And so it says source group security ID, source group security name. So we have a few different options for it. So it's one or the other, which is kind of nice. The name of the security group, you must specify either the security group ID or the security group name. You can't specify a group of either. For security groups in a non-default VPC, you must specify the security group ID. So we will be using this one for that specification. So we'll go here, and this is going to be here. Now everything gets forwarded to port. So the load balancer in our diagram, so you know, like here, everything gets forwarded to 443, but at this point on, then we have SSL termination, TLS. So after this, beyond this point, when it goes here, it's actually going to be port 80, eh? By the way, this one should not have that there. Okay, so at this point, this is going to be port 80 coming in here, and so this is what that's expecting. So for between these rules, we really want it only on this one. We don't need it for here, okay? Because it's not going to know that it's that. So this is going to be like load balancer, ALB, HTTP. And so this is where we need that security group ID. And so that's something that we'd want to export out. So what we'll do, the security group ID, I think we already get that, but just in case we don't, we can get the group ID, I suppose. So we'll go down to our cluster tab here, and we will then open another split window here. We'll take a look at our networking one as an example. And so we'll just go ahead and grab this. And then we'll go ahead and paste this in like this. And the copy paste did not work, of course. So we'll go ahead and copy that again. And we'll paste this again here. Okay. All right, so here, this is ALB-SG. Well, that's what it is, ALB-SG. And so I think the same thing, ALB-SG. And we'll get the security group ID. So get ATT group ID. And so now we can go ahead and grab that there. We'll need to use an import here. So go back to this one here. It's going to be very similar. We're going to import as such. Okay, and over here, paste that on like that. Technically, this is security group. Yeah, we can just be more explicit, I suppose. Okay. Try not to make that too long, though. That's always the concern I have. So, yeah, that's what we'll call that there. Similar here, we'll want to go ahead and paste that there. Okay, so now we have that value that we need. But this one's coming from, is this from the network? This isn't from the network. This is from the cluster. And also, I think we just placed it in our service, which makes no sense. So what we'll do is grab that out of there, sorry. Well, which file is this then? It's the same file. Okay, I guess we just don't have outputs here yet. Sorry. Did I put all these under parameters by accident? Yes, I did. Okay, so this is supposed to be here. This is supposed to be in the cluster, which is here. Okay, copy paste does not want to work today. We'll go here. Great, so now our outputs here, and so this is actually being referenced from the cluster stack, not the networking stack. So we'll go here and say cluster stack. And so now we have our service security group. Great. I spelled this wrong. This should be spelled correctly for our gate service. And we'll just go look up ECS service CloudFormation. Important, the stack update fails if you change any properties that require replacement and at least one ECS service connect is configured. This is because AWS CloudFormation creates the replacement service first, but that each creates service connects must have a name that's unique. Let me just carefully read this, okay? So this is what I'm really wondering is if we're going to run into an issue with this. So what we'll need to do is, again, play around with it a few times and see what happens. Because if our stack gets stuck in a particular area, then that can mess up our deployment. We have to think about things where it's like, okay, we want to change the size of the task definition, and so the service gets rolled out, things like that. So we'll have to play around with it a bit, okay? But anyway, we'll just continue on. In worst case, we'll just end up ripping that stuff out. But we'll go ahead and start bringing in some of that code. So the first thing is, well, we don't want this. We'll grab this page here and we'll place this here as such. And then we'll go here and say type. And so the type that we are bringing in here today is called, it was ECS service. So paste that in, and then we'll bring in its properties. Okay, so we got quite a few. Capacity provider strategy. I mean, the thing is that we're using, we're creating a service, right? So this is for probably if we are using EC2 because it says capacity provider, and right now, Well, actually, no, this matters. The details of the capacity provider strategy can be set to run task or create service APIs, or as the default capacity provider, which is for a cluster with create cluster API. Okay. Well, what did I do for mine? So if we go up to this one here, what did I do a long time ago? It doesn't show anything. So I think that we don't have to mess with this. Create cluster API. Only capacity providers that are already associated with a cluster and have an active or updating status can be used in a capacity provider strategy. If specifying capacity provider, then use an autoscaling group. Yeah, I don't think we need to touch this. So we'll go back here. Cluster, definitely we need to know what the cluster is that we're attaching this to. So that will be something. Okay. We'll go back here. Deployment configuration. Optional deployment parameters that control how many tasks run during the deployment and the ordering, stopping, and starting of tasks. So that could be something that's interesting for us to go investigate. So we'll look at that. Whoops. Holy frickin' jeez. Okay. Come on, stop frickin'. Okay, there we go. Sorry, folks. I apologize for the strong Canadian language there, but it was getting a little bit frustrating for me there. Deployment controller, the default is ECS, but we'll have that desired count. This is something you probably want to have, so we'll put that there as well. We'll go down here. ECS managed tag specifies whether to turn on ECS managed tasks. That sounds actually quite good. Did I set that before? It didn't. We might want to have this on, but I'm just going to ignore it for now. Enable execute command. We do want this because this allows us to get into it if we need to shell in. This is something we definitely want to set so we can not be waiting 1,000 years. The launch type is going to be Fargate here. There is an associated load balancer, so we'll do that. I didn't realize it could have more than one, though. A list of load balancers with associate service. If you specify the role property, role balancers must be specified as well. Okay, network configuration. This parameter is required for tasks to use AWS VPC, which we are using. We'll go to the next one here. Placement constraints. Don't care about that. Platform version. Target launch type, that's what we're using. So we're going to go here and say the latest. Propagate tag, specify whether to propagate the tags from the task definition to the tasks. I mean, sounds good. I like that. Oops, old slides. And Rohini would have came out again. It's just, unfortunately, I was ill, so we didn't get her for 2 sessions, unfortunately. The name of the Amazon role that allows ECS to make calls to your load balancer on your behalf. This parameter is only permitted if you're using a load balancer. If you specify the role, you must also specify the load balancer. Yes, I'm not exactly sure what I need to put here, but we'll go and put this here for now. We can go take a look here if I added it for this one. So this doesn't appear to be registered to a load balancer, which is unusual because it definitely needs to be. Oh, this one uses NLB, so it's a bit different. So that's fine. If you specify a role, it has a path other than that. You must specify the full role arm, scheduling strategy. For more information, there are 2 service registries. Replica, the replica scheduling the strategy places and maintains the desired number. By default, the service scheduler spreads tasks across AZs. Deploys exactly 1 task for each active container instance. I'm not sure what we want for that. I'm going to leave it alone. Service Connect configuration, we definitely want Service Connect, so we'll bring that over. Service name, we might want to specify that as well to make our lives a little bit easier, to make it something nice and readable. The stack update fails if you change any properties that require replacement, and the service name is configured. Okay. The details of the service discovery registry to associate with this. This is for probably if we are doing something else. We can go look at our crate stack here because a lot of this stuff is going to be very similar. Go into, we're doing backend, so we'll go backend here, backend, and we'll go in here and go to deploy. I mean, we really don't do too much here, do we? Don't we have a file for this? I believe we do. If we go into service backend, something that we could have also done is we could have took this and asked ChatGPT, take this configuration and convert it to CloudFormation. Just curious to see what it could do. Desired, enabled. Oh yeah, we do that. Okay. So, you know, just be careful because this can create apparitions. Like it can just make stuff up. So, you know, we can carefully read through that and just make sure it's not lying to us. But I figured we could run that and then maybe that will save us a little bit of time here and also just, you know, take a look and see what it generates. So here we did not set the other one. So let's actually put it because it looks like we must have done it for the other one. The load balancer, so here it says target ARM group, container name, container port. Oh, that's super nice. Okay. AWS VPC configuration, auto assign, enabled. Yeah, that looks right to me. The subnets. I'm just going to keep bringing it over because it's going to save us some time. I'm pretty confident that's correct. But if you're not, then you can go through and read it and just make sure 100%. Or if you just want to learn it all, you can go do that. Service registries. I guess that's something that we do in that file. Registry ARN. So we point to that in particular. So we'll go ahead and grab this. And I think that was that here. Now it's interesting, like we didn't set a role there. I'm not sure if we really need to put a role in here. So I'm going to take that out. Propagate tag is service. Let's just stick with what it has. Service name, back in Flask, definition, task definition, back in Flask. That sounds about right. And it probably does have task definition there. It does, and it's a string. Okay. We'll put that in as back in Flask for now, and then we'll substitute it out correctly here. There is some stuff in here, so we have, oh, it put those in for us. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so AWS region, AWS account, service, SRV, creditor, backend, Flask. I believe that is what we wanted it to be called in the other one, so that's fine as well. Okay. The subnets we do want to bring in from the networking. The security group is something we defined somewhere here. Did we not? We did this, right? Right there, yeah. So go here, and it looks like this wants the ID. So we'll go here, and we'll say get ATT group ID. And then I remember us selecting these in the cluster. So we'll go find our cluster example here. Close some of these out. Subnet. Yeah, those are those IDs, so we can literally bring this over as such. That'll work exactly how we want it to. That's good. Yeah, this one's fine. Container port. I mean, that is something that we should set above. Never set any container ports in here, right? So for this one here, split that again, bring it over here. So I'll go to the top here. I just wanted to define the container port. Okay, that looks good to me. Take out those quotations. I just don't like seeing that like that. Yeah, let's see if we can do that with our task definition file as well. So we go into our task definition file in the back end here. Go ahead and we'll grab this and take the following task definition and turn it into CloudFormation. I mean, with a task definition file, it does take a JSON file anyway, so it's going to probably just show a lot of this in line here. No reason to write this manually. This is a headache. Okay, we'll go ahead and grab this. I'm not sure if it's the right indentation level, so we'll find out here in a second. I think it is, yeah. I just want to call it task definition here. Let's go and find the documentation for these here. Return values. When you pass the logical ID, I just want its name though. The Amazon resource name. So this is not going to, yeah, so in this one case, we do actually have to hard code it or at least pass in the task definition name. So here it says the family name there. And so what we'll do, let's go to the top here and we'll say, that's not the right file. Split that here. And we'll go to the top here and we'll just say like task name, task. Just grab that. Or just say task family. This is not a string, this is a number. I mean, they're always going to be the same for me, but just in case we want to name them something else, I'm going to do that. Network mode, great. CPU, memory, we should lift those things up. So service CPU. Those are showing as strings. I don't know if there's supposed to be strings. Should click through here and take a look. Yeah, it says string here. And default here. 256. Service memory. 512. Just in case it forgets what it's supposed to be. So I'm just putting in that one case, I just wrap it. It's because they're numbers. I want to really make sure it treats it as string memory. Then we go down here. There's the X-ray daemon, port 2000. I don't feel like any of that has to be changed because that's just kind of default AdaBus stuff. Here we need to specify the image. We can provide the entire ARN, or we could just provide its name and reference it. I think we'll just take the whole name here. You gotta be kidding me. This copy paste is the worst. Okay, where did it go? There we go. Thank you very much. Right click cut. And we'll go down here. Right click paste. Okay. So we'll do that. So we have the ECR image. We have our health check. That is great. Those are great. Port mappings. Yeah, the name is backend Flask. That's fine. 4567, because it's whatever the container is called, right? So we can go here and say container name as well. So we have container name, and that's also backend Flask. And we'll say here ref container port. Ref service name, I suppose. This is going to be whatever region we want it to be set in. Log group creditor, CA Central 1. I mean, it's supposed to be in the same region, so AWS region. Hotel service name, back in Flask. I'm just going to call it the same thing here, service name. These are all our nvars. So this is something where we can just lift these up, right? So we'll just say env hotel service name, type string, env hotel exporter oltp endpoint, env AWS Cognito user pool ID, env Cognito user pool client ID, front end env front end URL, env backend URL, do not want to leave those like that forever, but for now I'm just setting them as this. Since this is all CloudFormation, it should be very easy for us to fix these. This is going to be this value here. I mean, you really shouldn't hard code these values in, but for now I'm putting them here. Just make sure you double check these when you're going through them and you don't forget what you're doing, because sometimes you can just kind of get into the rhythm of this and just kind of forget what you're doing. So let's say AWS region. Oh, then we have our secrets. There might actually be special ones for those. Let's go take a look here. CloudFormation. Parameters. There are ones for security groups. Nothing for secrets. Okay, well, I was just curious. And then here we have our secrets. So we have secrets, AWS access key, secrets, secret access key, secrets, connection URL, secrets, and secrets obviously from SSM parameter. And we'll just start to bring these over. And we have our connection string URL. Okay, there we go. So those are all brought in over and set. So that's nice. Well, now we have to replace them over here on the left-hand side. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, there we go. So those secrets are now brought in. Okay, great. So yeah, that's our service defined. We need to bring in the task definition. Oh, didn't we just do that? Yeah, we did. Okay, so that's in. We do need to bring in the execution role and the task role. Up here, it's linking to existing ones, but we are going to want to grab those. So I'm going to go here. I'm pretty sure that these roles here, we can generate those out as well. So, well, probably the easiest way is to go over to AWS and just take a look at all of the stuff that it has. So we'll go here and we'll go into IAM. Since we already have those correctly configured, we might as well not make our lives super hard here. And we'll go into roles. We'll look for the execution role. And I really just want to see all of the policies, right? So we'll go here. So I'll grab these permissions. And we'll go over to ChatGPT. Okay, so I'll just save us some trouble. And I'll go down here and we'll paste this in. And so we'll bring in this policy first. What did we call this policy before? It was called CRUD Service Execution Policy. So we'll bring that in. And the other thing here is that we'll actually have to get, before we import that, we'll have to make sure we delete those so we don't have name conflicts in case that does happen. So I'll go here. For this, we can replace this with like things like AWS account ID. And then this one here can be AWS region, right? And then here, this would be AWS, we just say ref service name, I suppose. I think we'd have to do this and then this. Don't know if I can't remember if I have to put a ref in here or not. Anyway, that's fine. So we'll go back over to IAM here, and we'll go back a step here. It was over here, I suppose. This one has CloudWatch full access. I don't know if we need full access for this because we need it for a specific one, but for the time being, I'm going to leave it the same because I just don't want to figure that out right now. Creditor service control role. Create a role in CloudFormation that attaches this customer managed policy called. Okay. And then we can also give it full access to CloudWatch logs. Sorry, make sure, sorry, it should use the managed policy by AWS for full CloudWatch log access. And that's the one I was looking for there. Okay, so we'll go back over here. We'll scroll up to this one. Copy that code there. Say execution policy. And then here, this is going to be execution role. I'll be back in just a second, okay? All right, here. So let's just see what we can do. So, we have our execution role. We have our policy here. We did also generate out the full CloudWatch logs here. This goes under managed policy ARNs. One thing I'm not 100% sure about, which I haven't really seen it done this way, but maybe you can do it both ways, is that this is putting the role here. So maybe you can attach the roles here as well, but that's probably not how I want to do it. We'll go ahead and paste this in here. And so this is going to be my AWS account ID. I'm going to assume this has to have a sub on it so it knows how to do that. I'm not sure if we've been doing that everywhere though too, so we might have to have a sub a few other places. That's going to be named based on whatever we call the policy in the other place. Technically, we could just probably find out what the return value is for that. So we'll go here. We'll do the return values. And so what I'm looking for here is the return values. I keep forgetting what we're doing here. So when the logical ID is given, reference, then it returns the resource name. And so the name is fine. What I really want is the actual ARN, but it looks like we're not going to get that. So what we can do here is go and I guess replace this. And this is going to be what will get us just the name. And so that's probably how we'll have to reference it there. Like that, okay? And I'm going to just put double quotations. I don't trust those singles there. We, of course, don't need any quotations, but I'm just going to do that anyway. So now we have our execution role. We need to have our task role for sure. So that is something else. But before we do that, let's go up here and just reference that role. Actually, before we do, I want to get in the documentation link there as well for that, because I need to see what returns for the return values. Okay. And oh yeah, the role name is being set here. Okay. And I guess that's fine. We'll leave that alone. So yeah, return values. So the return values here returns the name again. The ARN would be a lot nicer to grab, so that's what we'll do. So we'll go back to wherever we wanted to reference the role. Let's grab this here, and we'll go up to our service. And we'll just say ref execution role. Obviously, this one's going to be ref task role. And we'll take a look at what our configuration is for our task role. So we'll go back to roles here. And we have a few. So these are AWS managed. Okay, and then we have this one here. So, I mean, we can get ChatGPT to generate out, but it's not like it's that hard for us to figure out. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this. Bring this down here. Call this one task role. And this one will just be called Crowder task role. I assume it's ECS task as well. It could be something else. We could just look at the trust relationship. So this one says ECS task. I'm just going to double check the execution role to make sure it's the same and not something like the cluster or something else. So we'll go here, trust relationship, ECS tasks. Okay, so that's the same. That is good. We're making sure that matches up. What we want here is the manager roles. So we'll go down here, and we got a couple. You know what? I'm going to take the quotations off. I don't like them. And I'm pretty certain that you know, we don't actually have to create like a policy this way. We could actually probably just put it in line here, like as a statement. But I don't know. I guess I'll just make another policy. It's not like it's that big of a deal. So go here, and we'll just copy a good chunk of this. I'll bring this down here below. And so this will be our task policy. And so what do we have in this? This is SSM again, so something pretty similar. We just want these actions. Paste that in there. Cancel. Paste. There we go. We will go here. All right. All right, so yeah, so we have the role, we have the policy here. I'm not exactly sure if this is right. Sometimes you can't do it this way. We might have to break it up into separate lines, but we'll find out if it errors out. But that's our task policy. So our task policy is set up. And this is our task role. So that's the old one. Now that I'm thinking about it, because like this just doesn't look right to me. I'm almost certain that you have to do something else. But we'll figure it out here in a second, okay? Yeah, I'm not. Let's look at that up. So we'll go here to say ChatGPT. So how can you do a ref in a sub in CloudFormation? YAML. This example sub function to create a bucket name that includes the environment parameter passed in CloudFormation. So yeah, they're saying you don't have to do the ref there. So maybe I'm just mistaken. Okay, and we can just do that. But that's a parameter and not necessarily the other one there. So I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, we'll figure it out when we deploy it. So we have our task definition. We have our Fargate service. We have our security group. I think those are the three things that we need. So what we'll do is now go ahead and create ourselves some CloudFormation files. So we'll go here and say service deploy. And we'll go here. Say service. Yeah, we'll be extracting out basically the same stuff. Crowder cluster. And you know, that tag we could be putting also into our parameters or our config toml, but we'll do that later. This one's actually the background service, so backend Flask for now. We'll go back up here. We'll look at our config toml. There's nothing in it. We'll go grab that. We'll paste that on in here. CFN service backend, serve backend Flask. Okay, similar stuff over here. I'm just going to go and paste that in there. Just clear these out as the example files. And then we'll chmod this this new thing we have here. So we have chmod u plus x bin CFN service deploy. Cluster stack is not used, and that's fair because that's not the correct name. So what we'll do is open up the template here. That's line 13. Actually, we do have to pass the cluster name. So we have one here called cluster. I'm almost certain that, well, this is have to be an import because we'll have to get the name that way. But we'll bring in, oops. We'll bring in this here. Oh, we forgot about these other things as well. Yeah, I guess we need to set those. So yeah, the cluster stack name, we'll have to go back to our original cluster stack and fix that. So we'll go over here to this one and down to the outputs, cluster stack name, or just cluster name, sorry. Value, I have a feeling that it's just this. So we click through that here. And we go to return values. This returns the name of the stack. Yeah, that's what I thought. So we'll go back down to the bottom and we'll say export cluster name. So this would just be cluster name. And here this is going to be cluster name again. Just make sure we spell that correctly. So we'll have to update the previous one here to have the cluster name. So we'll go here and do bin CFN cluster deploy, and that will cluster not found as a resource. That's fine because it's called Fargate cluster. Try this again. Great. So we'll make our way over to CloudFormation. We'll execute that change set. I'll be back in a second, okay? All right, sorry there. I had to turn my light off because I was just getting too hot here. But anyway, what we were doing, we were updating this so that we had an output for the cluster name. And so that was a value that we needed for this over here. Let's go see if our service can run now. We don't have everything we need for it. So, I mean, it's going to conflict with some of the policies that we have there and roles because they have the same name, or I expect those to conflict, so we have to delete those. But just understand that we have yet to create a stack for our relational database. We have yet to create a stack for our authentication, like Cognito. Anyway, I don't think it'll be that big of an issue because I suppose that we just pass in the. We didn't tear that down, so I think we're fine, and we can tear those down later on. So never mind. But anyway, what we'll do, if we have yet to do so, we'll do a chmod on that new folder there. And we'll go here. Chmod U plus X, bin CFN service deploy. Actually, that's what it's called. Okay, so we'll go here and we'll do our bin CFN service deploy. Oh, right, and it's spitting out a bunch of problems. So tons of stuff it doesn't like. Service memory not used. Okay, so I guess we'll just have to make sure that these are all being referenced then. I know we had CPU in here somewhere. What's this? This is a cluster. This is, nope, this is the one we're on right now, CPU. Service memory not used. Oh, we got to spell it right for it to work, I suppose. ENV hotel service has a invalid property value. Okay. They'll say string, so. And it's not searching for anything else. Are they all? Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to get adjusted here. Oh, they say value. They're supposed to be default. Okay. Here it says should not exist with cider IP. Oh, right. So we did not remove the old one here. So we'll go ahead and remove that because this is now reliant on the source security group ID. So go hit up on that. I don't know if we actually exported that value. So that might be something that we need to do for our cluster. Let's go take a look here if we actually exported that out. We did, so that's good. Here it says, where did we last run this? Oh, right, deployment configuration. So we kind of skipped over these kind of things. Let's go back here and take a look. Alarms, deployment circuit breaker, maximum percentage, minimum health. Deployment circuit breaker can only be used with services using the rolling update of ECS deployment type. So all of this isn't very useful for us unless we want to do a deployment alarm. So that could tell us when a deploy is happening. So I'm actually not that interested in this. Let's take a look at the deployment controller. That is something that I am interested in. I mean, it's going to be set to ECS, but I just want it to be explicitly set to that. So type. And just so you notice here, we have ECS code deploy. So ECS is a rolling update deployment type involving replacing the current running version of the container with the latest version. The number of containers ECS adds or removes is based on that. Then blue-green is the type used for blue-green deployment, which allows you to verify new deployment of a service before sending production traffic to it. So we want to go with the ECS type here. So we'll go here and we'll say type and ECS. We'll look at our next value, which is the desired count. This is probably just a value, so we'll just put 1 there. And we'll go back here and hit up again. And so now we'll take a look at what it has now here. So property values for health check grace periods can't be null. So it looks like we're still missing a value here. We'll go back. The period of time in seconds that the ECS service scheduler ignores unhealthy elastic load balancer target health checks. The period of time in seconds that the ECS service scheduler ignores unhealthy ELB target health checks. This is only used when your service is configured to use a load balancer. So if your service has a load balancer defined, you don't specify a health check grace value, the default is 0. Okay, and so you might want to have a grace period just in case that, you'd have like one where it was not true, where the first one's like, hey, it said it didn't succeed from the load balancer, but you said, well, let's just ignore that within this time frame. I think that's what that's for. So we'll go ahead and try this again. We're getting closer to being able to run something here. So did you mean task definition? Probably. Line 126. Yeah, task definition here. That is what I meant. Execution roll ARN has no valid refs. Should. Right there. Oh, you know what? Probably we have to use get attribs .arn for that. It's actually get att, it's not get attribs. Arn here. For that extra t. We will try this again. Did you mean task definition? Again, line 126. Did I not spell that correctly? I did. Well, we can tackle some of these other ones as well. So line 169, we have this here. Or it would just be ref like that. That's probably what it wants there. Line 185. Same story probably. Because it's not substituting anything. I mean, you could do a substitute on it. It just would be silly to do that. We'll hit up here. User should be specified for execution policy, at least one. Roles, groups, or users for the policy. Same thing, it's saying that as well. Okay. Well, I know we can do inline as well, and so that might be nicer to do. So in here, I probably have like task definitions somewhere here. Yeah, and so we have the assume role policy document, and you can do policies like this. So that's what I'd probably just do here to simplify it. And that's what I was talking about doing. I mean, we could also specify the rules down below. It just depends. I mean, like, if these are reusable, it kind of makes sense, but they're probably not going to be, so that's probably not necessary. I'm just looking here, policy document, policy name. So basically, we could just take this here, and this would be what called policies? Yeah, so we can go here and say policies, and then just put that there like this. And I mean, technically, this is pretty similar for that, but I'll go here and we'll grab this and we'll paste this here. And we'll bring the indentation level in. Okay. And so now those are in line, and maybe that will, we don't have to do that requirement there. Still that sub issue there, line 258. It says function sub not found for task policy because it's not a parameter, right? And so here what we want to do is reference, and I don't think we can do ref here like this. I'll try, but I'm pretty certain that we can't embed like that. Didn't error out though. Line 126, invalid property, line 126. It's still complaining about that. Maybe the issue is with this part here, maybe that's spelt wrong. There we go. I'm still expecting that ref to cause a problem. Undefined method map for nil class. I'm not sure what that is. So I think what's happening there when it says undefined method map for nil class, I think that's the CFN lint that's doing that. So we'll just type in this, see what happens. Well, you know what? That actually also could be, this one looks more like a, because it says nil. So that's probably actually CFN TOML. And so what's happening there is probably we're not passing parameters in because I don't have the best error handling on that library. So if we go here to our service deploy, we actually aren't passing in any parameters. So we can just comment that out here like this and like that. And that's probably what that issue is there. Okay, so we'll go back over here to our CloudFormation. And we'll go here, we'll go into parameters, change that, sorry. And we'll just wait a little while, okay? All right, and so it failed because of that existing execution role, so we knew that was going to happen. So go ahead and just delete that stack. While that's going on, we're going to make our way over to IAM, and we'll go ahead and delete these policies. Or, well, the roles and the policies, I should say. So we'll go here, and we'll type in CRUDder. And we want to get rid of these two here. So delete that. We'll say delete. And so that should resolve that issue. We'll go back over here, give this a refresh. Delete is complete. We'll go back here, refresh, that is gone. Good. We'll go back and hit up. We'll go back and check our change set here, refresh, refresh. And we'll go and execute that change set. And we'll just wait a bit, okay? All right, so it looks like it failed. Okay, so we'll take a look here and see what it's complaining about. So it says, this policy is not a valid service. Okay. The following resources failed. Task role, execution role, rollback request. All right, so our issue is with our task role. We'll go take a look here at our template, and we will take a look at our task role. Now, it doesn't say what's invalid about it, but it's just saying that it is invalid. Oh, you know what? We're not referencing to these policies anymore, so maybe that's the issue. So we'll take that one out. And same thing here, because these are now just inline there. So what we'll do is go back over here. We will delete the stack again. Okay. That is deleted. That was pretty quick. We'll go back over here. We will try this again. I think that's what the issue was, okay? Could there be other issues? Of course. But we'll give it a moment to see what happens, okay? Go back over here. We'll go to our stacks. We'll go here, change sets, execute the change set. We'll be back here in a moment, okay? It's failed, and that's okay because we're going to have a lot of failures here. But let's take a look here. So it says invalid request, create service, the target group does not exist. Now, the target group definitely does exist. Actually, now that I think about it, did we attach an ALB to this? Don't remember doing that. I think it was like a load balancer list here. Oh, right, we didn't actually... this is the old one, right? So that makes sense why it doesn't exist because it wasn't there at the time. But anyway, I'm really hungry, so I need to go and eat. And so I'm going to stop the video here and, update this here. And so I'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao, ciao.